his 13-year-old niece, Farah, was killed, and he spent 6 hours the next day looking for her body because there were just piles of dead bodies everywhere. He said it was like a scene from the last day of humanity on Earth. I have a team of 20 staff on the ground in Gaza. I'm actually 19 now because one of them has been made a refugee in Egypt already. I have staff who themselves have fled from the north of Gaza to the south, and some who have stayed in their homes in the north of Gaza. I can't express enough how much of a disaster the situation on the ground is. The humanitarian system is collapsing. People are running out of clean drinking water, including my own staff. Food is in short supply. There's no shelter and nowhere to sleep, so people are sleeping on the streets. The hospitals are overflowing, and even the streets in some places are overflowing with dead bodies. So this is a complete disaster, and there's a lot of focus on the need to get aid in through the Rafah crossing, and that's absolutely right. It's completely essential now. But that itself isn't going to be enough, and it's not enough that Israel has turned the water back on, apparently, although we're not sure if that's true. Electricity and fuel is desperately needed in Gaza because that's how water supplies are pumped around Gaza. We can't truck in enough water to save 2 million people, and so the electricity and the fuel must be switched back on immediately as well.
What are your staff members reporting to you in terms of what they're witnessing?
Unimaginable, horrific scenes. My own staff member, Mohammed, his home was bombed on Friday night when he was inside with his family. He's an aid worker. He spent the day working to get the last medical supplies available in Gaza into the hospitals there to try to save people. But his home was bombed, and he and his wife and kids managed to survive, but his 13-year-old niece, Farah, was killed, and he spent 6 hours the next day looking for her body because there were just piles of dead bodies everywhere. He said it was like a scene from the last day of humanity on Earth. One of my other colleagues, now Raz, she's one of our finance officers. Her son is a taxi driver, and he was killed last week. And then last night, she had fled to the south of Gaza with her family, and the place that they were staying was bombed. She lost 6 of her family, including 4 children. Almost 1,000 children have been killed so far. And what's particularly horrifying about this is that much of the West, including our own government, is greenlighting what Israel is doing in Gaza just now. The vast majority of people there are regular people just like us. They're my staff, they're mums and dads and brothers and sisters. They're innocent civilians, and what's happening to them is truly horrific and also against international law.
On the subject of international law, the World Health Organization says that 4 hospitals in northern Gaza are no longer functioning as a result of damage from Israeli attacks, and 21 hospitals in the Gaza Strip have reportedly received instructions from Israeli forces to evacuate. It has been suggested that forced evacuation of hospitals like this may violate international law. What's your position on that?
Forcible transfer of a population is illegal, and the people, the doctors and nurses in those hospitals have said that they will not leave their patients to die. They will not leave babies in incubators and old people and people suffering from cancer and the people lying all over the floors who've been injured by the bombs that are falling on them. They will not leave them to die, and so those people are going to remain there. And what happens next has to be very carefully thought through. I think it's also important to understand that while it's true that hundreds of thousands of people have fled from the north of Gaza to the south, people have actually started to return to the north because the humanitarian situation in the south is so dire, because there's no water, no food, no shelter. So they're going back home where they think at least they have a chance of trying to survive. There's at least 500,000 people still in the north of Gaza. The vast majority of them are innocent civilians, and half of the population are children.